Did you know that Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientists the world has ever known, was born prematurely and was so small at birth that he was not expected to survive? His beginnings were indeed as astonishing as the life that was to follow, marked by resilience, brilliance, and revolutionary discoveries. Isaac Newton first opened his eyes to the world in the manor house of Woolsthorpe, a place near Grantham in Lincolnshire, England. Now, you might find it interesting that according to the calendar in use at the time of his birth, he was born on Christmas Day in 1642. But in our modern times, we recognize his birth date as January the 4th, 1643. This discrepancy is due to the Gregorian calendar, which was not adopted in England until 1752. Newton's family background is as complex as some of his theories. He was born into a family of farmers. His father, also named Isaac Newton, never got a chance to meet his brilliant son. He passed away in October 1642, a mere 3 months before Newton was born. Despite owning property and animals, which made him a man of considerable wealth for those times, Newton's father was completely uneducated and couldn't even sign his own name. Newton's mother, Hannah Ayscough, remarried when he was just 2 years old, and he was left in the care of his grandmother at Woolsthorpe. Essentially treated as an orphan, Newton's childhood was far from being a happy one. This early part of his life was marked by feelings of bitterness towards his mother and stepfather. The birth of this extraordinary mind was indeed under extraordinary circumstances. The small, premature baby, who was not expected to survive, not only lived but went on to redefine our understanding of the world. Newton's beginnings, marked by hardship and loss, serve as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. As we delve deeper into his life in the upcoming scenes, we will see how he overcame these challenges to become one of the greatest scientists the world has ever known. Isaac Newton's early life was filled with trials and tribulations, shaping the man he would become. Born in the manor house of Woolsthorpe near Grantham in Lincolnshire, England, Newton was the posthumous child of a prosperous, uneducated farmer, also named Isaac Newton. Just 2 years after his birth, Newton's mother, Hannah Ayscough, remarried a man named Barnabas Smith, the minister of the church at North Witham, a nearby village. This marriage left young Newton in the care of his grandmother, Marjorie Ayscough. This shift in his family dynamics, essentially treating him as an orphan, set the stage for a rather unhappy childhood. Newton's relationship with his family was strained, to say the least. His resentment towards his mother and stepfather was palpable. As a teenager, he even confessed to having harbored thoughts of burning them and their house down. Newton's grandfather, James Ayscough, was a non-entity in his life, leaving nothing for him in his will, a fact that only fueled Newton's resentment. Despite the turmoil at home, Newton did manage to attend the free grammar school in Grantham, albeit with little initial success. His academic performance was far from stellar, with school reports describing him as idle and inattentive. His mother, now a woman of considerable wealth and property, decided her eldest son was better suited to managing her affairs and estate, and took him away from school. However, Newton's lack of interest and talent in estate management was apparent. It was Newton's uncle, William Ayscough, who saw potential in him for academic pursuits. Convincing Hannah Ayscough that university was the right path for her son, Newton was allowed to return to the free grammar school in Grantham in 1660 to complete his education. This time, he lodged with Stokes, the headmaster of the school, and contrary to earlier reports, Newton began to show promise in academics. Newton's early life was far from a fairy tale, but it was these hardships that shaped his resilience. While Newton was initially considered idle and inattentive, a turn of events set him on the path of greatness. This is the story of the turning point in the life of Isaac Newton, the man who would go on to become one of the greatest scientists the world has ever known. Isaac's mother, a woman of reasonable wealth and property, had seen her eldest son as the perfect candidate to manage her affairs and her estate. Thus, Isaac was taken away from school. However, the young Newton showed no particular talent for or interest in managing an estate. His heart and mind were elsewhere, in a world of numbers, equations, and the laws of nature. It was then that an unexpected hero emerged in the form of his uncle, William Ayscough. William saw something in Isaac that others had overlooked. He recognized the spark of genius in his nephew's eyes and understood that Isaac's talents lay not in the fields of the family estate, but in the hallowed halls of academia. With a firm belief in Isaac's potential, William embarked on a mission to persuade Isaac's mother that her son was destined for greater things. He argued that Isaac should be prepared for university, a place where his intellectual prowess could be nurtured and honed. And so, in the year 1660, Isaac was allowed to return to the free grammar school in Grantham to complete his school education. This time, he lodged with the headmaster of the school, a man named Stokes. Despite previous reports describing him as idle, Isaac must have shown signs of promise, for it was this return to education that set him on the path to his future achievements. Sometimes, it takes just one person to recognize our potential, and for Newton, it was his uncle. The turning point in Newton's life wasn't a grand event or a momentous occasion. It was a simple decision made by a caring uncle to guide a young man back to the world of learning. And the rest, as they say, is history. Newton's intellectual curiosity led him to make groundbreaking contributions to science. He had an insatiable thirst for knowledge that propelled him to explore the uncharted territories of the scientific world. First, let's talk about calculus. Newton is credited with laying the foundation for differential and integral calculus. While a professor at Cambridge, he developed the method of fluxions, a mathematical technique used to solve problems involving changing quantities. This laid the groundwork for what we now know as calculus, a field of mathematics that has become essential for a wide range of scientific and engineering disciplines. Newton's interest wasn't confined to the abstract world of numbers. He also made significant strides in the field of optics. He performed a series of experiments with light and prisms, leading to the discovery that white light is composed of a spectrum of colors. This led him to question the then accepted theory of color, and he proposed that color is an intrinsic property of light itself. This groundbreaking work resulted in the first comprehensive theory of color and light. But perhaps Newton's most renowned contribution to science is his work on gravitation. He formulated the law of universal gravitation, which describes the gravitational attraction between any two masses. This law, along with his three laws of motion, formed the basis of classical physics and redefined our understanding of the natural world. During his time as the Lucasian professor at Cambridge, Newton's relentless pursuit of knowledge and his innovative thinking led to these profound discoveries. His work during this period was nothing short of revolutionary, pushing the boundaries of what was known and understood in the scientific community. Newton's work laid the foundation for much of the science we know today. His contributions to calculus, optics, and gravitation have shaped our understanding of the world around us and continue to influence scientific thought to this day. From the movements of celestial bodies to the colors of a rainbow, Newton's scientific legacy resonates in every corner of our universe. Newton's later life was as intriguing as his earlier years. After his prolific period as the Lucasian professor at Cambridge, Newton transitioned into a new chapter of his life. He became a highly paid government official in London, taking on the role of Warden of the Royal Mint in 1696. The mathematician found himself thrust into the world of finance and politics, a far cry from his world of academia. Despite his withdrawal from mathematical research, Newton's impact on the field remained significant. His contributions to calculus, optics, and gravitation continued to influence scientists and mathematicians alike. His work, Mathematical Principles of Natural Philosophy, remained a vital resource for scientific study. Its theories and principles still applied in modern physics and astronomy. Newton's life was not without controversy. His later years were marked by feuds with fellow scientists, notably Gottfried Leibniz over the creation of calculus. Despite these disputes, Newton's reputation remained largely unscathed, his work speaking louder than any personal conflicts. Isaac Newton passed away on the 31st of March, 1727 in London. His death marked the end of an era, but the beginning of his enduring legacy. He was buried in Westminster Abbey, a testament to the high esteem he held in society.